because I was like, I'm going to wear my shirt today. And you wore your shirt today.
Yeah, well, I figured we were going to talk about it, and then I didn't have anything thought up of other stuff to talk about. So I was like, well, I know we're going to talk about that, so wear the shirt.
Okay, so ta-da! Our shirts, they're so
I
cute.
I would stand more, but I'm in like a corner in my room. For the viewer, this isn't that interesting for the listener, but for the viewer, I'm in a corner, next to bags and my bed and my dresser. I have no movement.
Not a lot of space in New York City, full disclosure. New York City.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a decent amount of space, but it's kind of rude to have all your roommates be just like, okay, I'm going to go record a podcast. Go to your room.
Be quiet in the living room. Yeah, you have kind of an interesting life. I think that's interesting. We've not really shared with the viewers, but you are literally in a Four's Company situation. Yeah. Do you remember? Yeah. Did you ever remember the show Three's Company? Or are you too young to remember that?
I've heard the name. We call it a reverse New Girl.
Reverse New Girl. I like that. That's probably a more modern opinion. So you live with three women.
Three women, yeah. Yeah, I do.
And how is that? Four total people in your apartment in New York City. And here's what I think is interesting. One bathroom. I don't know how it works. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, we get by. Yeah, it's more just awkward with, having a girlfriend. Then it's just like, oh yeah, he lives in Hell's Kitchen. 4 ladies.
It's 4. Lots of other people. So your girlfriend has to be cool with that.
Yeah, but it's a great apartment. So it's like, you win some, you lose some.
It's a huge apartment. Actually, fun story. We had our Heisman post party there last year.
Yep.
For the Heisman Trophy celebration. And I was looking around and I'm like, this is so random. Just like Tim Tebow and his beautiful wife, and RG3 and his beautiful wife, and Andre Ware. I think you had 4 or 5 Heisman Trophy winners in the apartment. Just like, all right, here's the post party at my apartment in New York City.
Yeah, and then like, a couple months later, almost a year later, I'm just like, hey, are we gonna take out the trash? It's just so it's bizarre,
Yeah, it's an interesting living situation. I think that as you get older, your patience for living with other people gets thin. Like I had a ton of roommates when I was younger. I've had some really great roommates, and then I had some really bad roommates. Maybe we'll get into some worst roommate ever stories in a minute, but I wanted to start today. So we have had a really incredible week. Some of you who've listened to the podcast, people might know this, but I'm going to start a little bit from scratch just in case people don't know our story, if that's okay, honey.
Okay.
So about 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And at the first, it was just a melanoma, like a spot on my chest. It ended up spreading, had another major surgery under my arm, took out all my lymph nodes, and then it ended up spreading to my lungs. And at that point, it became kind of like a deadly diagnosis, stage 4 metastatic. You've got non-operable tumors in your lungs, and we're not sure if you're going to make it. So things were bleak. Thank goodness I got on kind of a life-saving immunotherapy, and I'm still here, still fighting. And we had some really rough years, I would say, where we just didn't know what the future held. And that's kind of where we ended up doing some really fun stuff. So I feel like in a weird way, we made the best of my stage 4 deadly cancer diagnosis.
Yeah, I mean, I was not privy to it until remission. I would like that to be known.
I was not told of the let stage you know 4. How serious it was. Right.
It's fine. We're past it. But anyway, so continue.
So during that time, I started kind of doing things that were like on a bucket list. I had the doctor tell me once, like, you need to start thinking about how you're spending your time. And so, you were in New York going to an acting conservatory, and I was like, that's it. I'm moving to New York with my kid. Anytime I have left, I want to be with my son. And so we got this really cool brownstone, started a band. Like, I just think we lived really big and loud because we don't know if that's the final time you get to be together. So anyway, long story short, I'm doing great. I have started remission. I finally just had my last 6-month scan. So now I can go a year without scans. So everything is going well. But during that time, it's like this really horrible, like stressful time of like, you just, every day weighs on you that you don't feel well, you're sick, and you're not sure if you're going to make it. So during that time, I started keeping what I call a joy journal. And I would write down, okay, today, me and Mac and our friend Maria Taylor, we went to Central Park and climbed the fortress where all the movies are made at Central Park. That went in my joy journal. We went for a bike ride on the Strand in Hermosa Beach and watched sunset on the beach. That went in my joy journal. So fast forward, I finished chemo and I set a goal at that time, like whatever time I have left, I want to pay it forward and give back to others and bring joy to people's lives every day. So we've started the Joy+US Foundation, Joy+US, because I learned while I was like, I don't know how to say this the right way, but I felt like I was living better while I was dying, if that makes sense, of having this really intentional focus every single day on how am I living today? What am I doing that's fun? Instead of letting work and stress and responsibilities creep up and take over the course of your day, that I think we all do that. I started deciding to sit in my joy and live with my joy. So I would close my eyes and be like, what brings me joy? What brings me joy? And then I would just cry and I would let the joy wash over me. And I'd be like, I'm so happy in this moment. So we're trying to now pay that forward and kind of help people learn how to be more joyful in life. I do think we are very joyful, fun people. So this week we got to do something really special. You take it from there. You tell us what we did this week.
Just you tell. Why do you keep trying to give it to me? It's you go. God, what the?
I want to be the only talker the whole time.
It's your thing. It's your foundation. You did this.
I know, but you were so cute.
Jeez, Louise.
You were so cute to go with me this week. So
yes, I was happy to go with you, but I'm on the board. I have very little. It's your idea. You fundraised. Just revel in it. Be proud.
Revel in it. Okay. So while I was going through chemo, there was a gal at Mississippi State who was a top ranked player, one of the most famous softball players in the state of Mississippi history, named Alex Wilcox. And as an incoming freshman to Mississippi State, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And so while I was going through treatments, she was at Mississippi State. And through my work in softball, I would watch her and see her and kind of get to know about her situation. And she would go to chemo. She would drive a couple hours, go to chemo that day, drive home and go to her softball practice and work out with the team. And she would do the wall sits and all the hard things that people who are training for softball would do. And Alex would do that. And she did eventually get into a game. And not long after that season, she lost her battle with ovarian cancer. And we lost Alex in 2019. And it just struck me so hard because here's this young woman on the cusp of her life and, living her dream as a softball player. She's worked her whole life and it's taken away from her so cruelly. And I just kind of have never gotten over that. So we, for the Joy+US Foundation, our first big act of service and bringing joy to somebody is the Alex Wilcox Memorial Scholarship. And Alex's parents have been so amazing, allowing us to establish this in the name of their daughter. So someone will always be playing softball on a field in Alex Wilcox's name. So her legacy will live on forever. So we got on a train. This was kind of fun, right? Tell me about you had to bring like 30 t-shirts and an oversized check through Manhattan and be awarded a $10,000 scholarship. So I wanted to kind of share some of the audio and video of us going to Yale and awarding our first annual Alex Wilcox Memorial Scholarship to Grace Westmoreland at Yale. And I think we pulled off a really epic surprise.
She seemed surprised, so that was good.
Okay, my heart is pounding, and I'm just going to cry the whole time, I'm afraid. This is so cool.
So yeah, a couple different things for what that might be. I'll pause right here because we have ourselves a celebrity joining us here.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
This is the one and only Holly Rowe.
Hello, everybody. Hi. How are you? How are you? How are you? So we are kind of going to some college campuses to bring awareness to something very close to my heart, which is ovarian cancer. We're wearing teal. This is the color of ovarian cancer. There was a really special young woman that played softball at Mississippi State, Alex Wilcox, that we lost in 2019 to ovarian cancer. So today we are awarding the very first annual Alex Wilcox Scholarship
her name so that she will have someone playing softball for her forever. And it's going to go to Grace Westmoreland. I'm sorry, I'm crying. So Grace sent in an application and she wrote a beautiful essay about what it will be meaning for her. You have been touched by cancer in your life with your mother and people close to you, and we just want to make sure someone is always playing softball and walking out on that softball field, wearing the name Alex Wilcox, and keeping her memory alive. We just started the Joy+US Foundation, and we just want to bring some joy into people's lives who have been dealing with cancer. Maybe just, if you don't mind, tell the team like what you said in your essay of why this would be important for you.
My mom, Sherry Westmoreland, is a really amazing woman. She got diagnosed with cancer when I was in about like the 3rd grade. It went undiagnosed for 8 years. And so she had to have surgery, chemotherapy, everything. It was like quite a long road of recovery for her, but she never made it like known to me. Like I had no idea until I was in like the 6th grade, which was like never a problem because like my childhood was so awesome.
Thank you guys for letting us come. We got t-shirts for all of you. I hope that this will bring a little joy into everybody's life. So please get a t-shirt. And always just realize that you're so lucky to get to play college softball. I know it's hard. I know it gets stressful. Thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much, Holly Rowe, for creating this and giving back to people who are going through anything similar to what Alex did. I just can't thank you enough for choosing me. Thank you, Holly.
I don't want to say I've felt survivor's remorse or for survivor's guilt, but it has hit me so hard for so long that there are young people going through cancer that don't make it and don't get to live the rest of their lives. And it's so hard.
Yeah.
So I am super emotional about that. I remember one time when I was sick and just saying a prayer, like, gosh, just let me take all the pain from her. Let me take all the, like I'm strong. I can handle it. I don't want these young people going through stuff. So I do think there's lots of layers of emotion and
Yeah. It's been interesting. I wasn't very privy to a lot of this. So like, it's interesting. It's fascinating to watch and see and, be there for you as much as I can. But, I didn't know about Alex Wilcox while that was happening necessarily. And so I'm kind of learning this all as we're going through it. So it's very emotional. It's very tough. Yeah.
It is very tough, but I think it's really special. So we got to send, we had all of our scholarship application, kids that applied for the scholarship write an essay on how their lives have been impacted by cancer, why they would play in Alex's memory and support her memory. And so I was able to send those essays to her parents. I think that's really special. And Grace shared part of her story with us in that essay of her mom was going through cancer. And her mom did not tell her the whole time. And so she got to be an older child. And one day they're like telling fun facts and her mom's like, oh, well, I'm a cancer survivor. And she's like, wait, what? So I guess that's an interesting question I wanted to ask you about. We're going through, all these heavy emotions and it's hard.
We said her name, right? We said Grace.
Yes, Grace Westmoreland. And so she is incoming freshman pitcher at Yale.
Yeah.
So we have vowed we're going to go back up to Yale. And how great was our tour of Yale that they gave us?
Yale's amazing. Of course, it's exactly what you think of. It's beautiful. It's like Hogwarts.
Ivy League, gorgeous buildings. And we took the train up from New York City to New Haven. It was super easy. Did you know that New Haven has been voted the best pizza in America?
I found out who was telling us that. It was Doc. She was telling us that was the best pizza. It's like them and then like Phoenix and then like New York, best pizza in the country. Yeah.
So we had a really good Pepe's. I
think it was Pepe's. Yes. So there's two in there, but we're Team Pepe right now.
We're Team Pepe because that's the one we tried and it was incredible. So we had a
And
great day at Yale.
we didn't, I mean, I don't know if the people will listen, but we didn't have the heart to tell anybody that we're both lactose intolerant and have a gluten intolerance. We won't say who's who necessarily, but lactose, gluten. And so pizza is like the last thing that we should be eating.
But we both ate it
But we proceeded to eat an entire pizza between the two of us on the train ride back.
on the train back. And people on the train were stopping us to say,
Being like, "Ooh, that's good.
We'll take
we
that
want some
pizza
of
from
that."
you. So I think we learned that, number one, the Yale community, the athletic director came, associate athletic director, all the people with Yale athletics came and were so supportive of us, head coach, the entire team was there. So we're just so grateful to everybody. And
It's adorable.
And it's just cool because this is something that I've been trying to get off the ground. You know, it gets challenging to start a foundation. There's lots of paperwork. It's legal. You've got to get your tax status, all this stuff. But we finally did it. And so look forward to lots of other cool, joyous projects coming forward. So anyway, that was something really special. And I'm really grateful to you because, you know, as you can tell, this is something I'm super emotional about. But I was like, hey, do you want to come with me? And you were so gracious and said yes. And I just want to say I appreciate you.
Yeah, I will do anything to help you. I know it's a very emotional thing. And I mean, I don't know anything about anything, but I'm happy to be. I part of the reason I was put on this earth is to stand behind strong women and, you know, help. And I will always do that.
That's really sweet. I do think you're amazing at, and I don't know if it's because you've been raised by a strong mom or I feel like you are so good. One thing I love about you is we have a lot of really powerful, wonderful, strong friends in our lives. But like anytime anything good happens to any of my friends or the powerful women that you've been kind of raised around, like you're the first person to tweet it. I'll be like, oh, look, he's tweeting congratulations to Doris Burke on her being the first, you know, woman to ever call an NBA final. You're so supportive. I love that.
I like to celebrate, like, you know, Doc does all these cool things and I find more joy. I mean, it might be also just like it's easier. Like I get embarrassed to celebrate anything for myself. And so like, it's like an extent, it's an easier access for like, I feel a lot of pride when I'm around people who are doing great things. And predominantly those are women. I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of men I know that are doing cool shit, but I'm mostly around women are doing, like, you know, Stewie's crushing it, you know, and you have a foundation, you're crushing it. Beth Mowens is crushing it. Doc is crushing it. Tiffany is crushing it. Michelle Williams is crushing it. Doris is crushing it. Maria is crushing it. There's just all these very powerful, awesome badasses in my life.
Michelle Smith.
You know, yeah, Michelle Smith. And I'm so happy to just, you know, have these, like, I know if I ever have daughters, I'll be like, okay, let me tell you.
Let me introduce you to some gold medalists.
You got some aunties that, yeah, exactly. And it's also, it's inspirational, not even just, you know, to other women, but to me. Like I'm spending more time with, you know, like sitting with just like Marta and again, Tiffany, like just sitting around people who are successful and like doing hard things. It kind of gives you a little, it's that saying of like, when you're around the people that you're around kind of create who you are. And the more time, like, you know, you sit around a mom that's handling 2 kids and like a famous wife, and you get a little inspired to be, you know, to like, oh, I can do more stuff in my life. Where you know, you sit around, you hang out every day with a woman who's running gig to gig, playing magical, great music, and like playing at weddings and doing and like running her own business, and then helping her dad run a business. I can you know, I can run to the gym, you know, like I can get out of bed a little earlier. You know, it just gives you, when you're around successful people, you get inspired, and you kind of realize that you can do stuff because you see other people doing stuff. I think,
the thing I really love about you too, though, honey, is like there are a lot of men who somehow their pride or ego does not allow them to celebrate the success of women. That's just something I've seen in life. You know, like I have worked with colleagues that if I got an award or I got something, they wouldn't talk about it or bring it up or congratulate me, and as if it was somehow offensive to their ego. So I'm really proud of you that you love and support women, and it does not in any way minimize your own ego or success.
Yeah,
I'm
and I
curious
think
how that you got
that's
like.
it's also, I mean, that's something that you work on. I think, 8 or 9 years ago, I would have been like having a hard time with it. But you kind of, you have to go through massive failure and feel failure to understand that when people are winning, no matter who it is, it's a win. Especially if you get to be in a part of it, and it starts to make you kind of realize like, I've been in a bad spot, and I'm around people who are amazing, and like that what's the word I want to, that spectrum, or that span of time, and like things you learn, is it kind of, you kind of have to kill your ego and let that kind of go away a little bit, so then you can see how amazing it is for people to do great stuff, because you have a little bit more reverence for greatness when you like, you got to spend a month at the bottom of the barrel to really respect the top,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think it's a lot of thought and a lot of like wherewithal to be like, I don't want to be there anymore, and I don't want to pull down people to be with me. I don't want to, I don't want people to come down to my level. I want to get up to their level and be friends with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
Be inspired.
the healthy. It's interesting because social media, I feel like, has created this. How can I say this the right way? This culture of envy, right? Is like, you see all
Comparison.
these people, and there's a great saying: comparison is the theft of joy. And so comparing yourself to others, well, they're doing this, they're doing that, but there is a kind of this Buddhist Asian philosophy, and the word that is associated with it is called mudita. And I learned this from Alabama softball coach Patrick Murphy, as he's had this be the theme for his softball team for a long time. And the word mudita, it kind of translates loosely into, you feel as much joy when someone else succeeds, and having the joy for others when they're getting wins. And by doing that, you create this sense in yourself. And I think you were just talking about that of, I can gain and be inspired and get better by watching the success of others. And instead of being envious or jealous or comparing myself, feeling that joy and reveling in it and taking advantage of it, that is a happy, better feeling than comparison and jealousy and envy.
Well, I used to, on the same kind of wave, I used to get, sometimes in my head, I would definitely be like, I don't want to just be Holly Rowe's son. I'm my own person. And I've definitely come through, through a lot of stuff to get to the other side of being like, I'm Holly Rowe's son. Sorry, bleep that. But like, or don't bleep it. Who cares? It's America. But I'm happy to be like, if I die just being somebody's son or somebody's, boyfriend or somebody's cousin, whatever. But I got to be, and that's not a bad thing. That's like a thing that that's its trophy on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And like that feeling of being like, that's a win. Like whenever somebody's just like, oh, where's your mom? We love your mom. You're so lucky. I'm like, I am. Yeah. It's just, yep. And as opposed to being like, well, but I got my own stuff going on. It's like, no. I'm happy. Accept positivity.
Being a cheerleader for others. I think that one of my great skills in life is, I am maybe the world's best encourager. I think I encourage people. I am constantly encouraging the people in my life. You can do this. You're great. You're amazing. So proud of you. Like, I think that is a skill, and I'm proud that I do that. I think that is something that is a gift that you can give into the world. It's being encouraging to others.
Yeah. 100%.
So anyway, to come back full circle, we're very proud, Joy+US Foundation. You can check us out, thehollyrowe.com. There's a little link at the top of my website that has information about the Joy+US Foundation, and you can donate. And we are coming out with merch. So we're going to get some shirts, because hello, I think our shirts are cute. And I think they're also like a good message of like, of being joyous every single day and having joy. And then the other thing that we're getting right now is some joy journals. I think it has really changed my life of tracking every single day what brought me joy that day. And when I say that, the other skill to that is like, a lot of people, like, you sit at a joyful moment, or I'll give you an example. I was at a
Mhm.
WNBA game, and this little school, it was like PS 105, this little elementary school from Manhattan. They sang the national anthem. And I just remember sitting there and just closing my eyes and looking at these little kids and absorbing them singing. And I just started crying, like, this is a joyful moment. And just kind of sitting in that joyful moment. Or, we're on top of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and I'm there with you, and the lights are twinkling, and it's this beautiful night, and just kind of closing my eyes and letting that joy wash over me, and just really sitting in these joyful moments of your life.
Mhm.
Because I think we sit in the fear and stress and anxiety more, and
Yeah.
I want us to sit in the joy more.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. Have you ever hopped on Instagram and searched for workouts and diet tips and been bombarded by influencer pages with fake butts and no college degrees?
Yeah,
Really?
I have.
mean,
I,
yeah,
I
that,
actually do get influenced by that.
yeah, I get influenced too. Well, high performance health makes fitness easy to understand and helps anyone from any background to get in shape. And I mean, you've done it, right?
I have used it. Very
And you like
helpful.
it?
I do these
Yeah,
workouts in my hotel room.
yeah. And they're all he made one very specific to I have a shoulder injury and a lower back injury. Very specific, very spot on, and very helpful. So if you're interested in taking the guesswork out of all of this, just subscribe via the link in our Instagram bio in the show description, or you can follow the founder, Fran Kalinsky. It's just at FRAN underscore KILINSKI on Instagram if you want any more info. All right.
Yes, Fran's great. He's got an app. He'll write a program for you, and he has been super helpful. So thank you, Fran.
Thank you, Fran. All right.
That's our big first sponsor of the show. Thank you. We're so
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, hey, we'll take them one by one. Okay, one of these doesn't make sense, but it's just a cue for me. So when you read it, might seem meaner than it actually is. Okay, here we go.
Will seem meaner than it is. Uh-oh.
Yeah, just so
Okay,
because
pull
the
it
way
up.
I said it. Okay, that's the one I grabbed. Okay,
Good.
so it just says "leave me alone." Does it?
Leave me alone. That is your chaos theory topic for today. Leave me alone.
So this is about Uber drivers or servers or just random people. I just won't stop talking to you, and I feel bad, and I'm working on it. But I'm just like, I'm not responding. What is happening that this conversation continues? I haven't spoken.
I had a situation the other day where I got in an Uber car, and the reason it stood out so much is it was 5:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And my driver, I got in the car, and when I tell you, I had not been in the car more than 90 seconds. He had told me his entire life story, where he'd worked. He'd been up since 2 a.m., like, brrr.
Yeah.
And he was such a nice man. He was a little bit older man. And I was trying so hard to be nice. I was also exhausted, and it was 5:30 in the morning. And so, like, that is hard because you're like, I want to be a good person and engage with you right now. It's 5 in the morning. I don't have this energy.
Yeah, I don't want to be like elitist or friendly, but I'm just like, I'm not respond. Just leave me alone. But people just sometimes they just don't, and I don't know the proper etiquette to just be like, I wish in a perfect world you could just be like, I'm good, I'm all good, I'm set, and they'll be like, oh, okay.
So, okay, I have had two very real situations with this very thing, because let's say it was in December of 2019, we were doing bowl season, and a man came up to me at a bowl game, and he was just hacking, like coughing. And then he shook my hand. And I remember thinking, that's it. I am not shaking hands anymore. So think about the timing of this. This is December of 2019.
This is when you got COVID.
And so before that, I said to one of my coworkers, why do we shake hands in this country? Like, we're one of the only countries that are just so set on handshaking. I said, that's it. I'm not shaking any more hands. I'm 100% convinced that I got sick from this guy at the bowl game because he shook my hand and he was sick. So fast forward 3 months, 4 months, COVID pandemic, whatever. And I remember my coworkers getting back to me and saying, wow, you were really on something with the no handshaking thing.
Yeah.
So post-COVID, I would tell people, so people would come up and they still shake your hand. And I would say, I'm not shaking hands right now. And I
See,
remember
but that's
Rebecca
the thing, because
Lobo
you don't
saying,
want to
like,
be,
that is
you don't want
so
to be a
rude.
jerk. Yeah, you don't want to be a jerk, because that's mean. But it's the night. It's like, it's the easiest path to just. But I don't know. I think just a respectful, just like a respect, like when somebody holds out their hand, you can just give them a nod, be like, oh, thank you, and keep it moving, and just don't acknowledge the handshake. Or do you do a fist bump? If they go for the handshake, do you just give them a bump?
It feels rude. And then sometimes people leave their hand hanging there and they look at you with these sad puppy dog eyes, like, you're not shaking. Like it is this whole etiquette thing that's really hard. And then here's
Yeah.
the other one that I have struggled with. I love some days just to go wander around TJ Maxx. I'll go
Yeah.
wander around Nordstrom.
Yeah.
It is a way for me to turn my brain off and wander around the store. I may or may not be shopping. I'm just looking at stuff, but really it is kind of a therapeutic turn your brain off thing.
It's meditative.
I will have 10 salespeople come up to me. May I help you with anything? Did you find everything okay today? And so I have said before, I'm just looking today. I don't need any help, but thank you. And they look at you like you might be the rudest person in America. So I don't have any answers for you. I don't know how to get people to leave you alone, honey, because
The issue
I
is,
feel that sometimes and I can't figure it out.
well, like when you meet somebody and they're just like, oh no, thank you. But
Right,
they're
like people
saving
that
their,
don't care how you feel or think, and people that just like they
for a
don't
stranger.
care, and so they don't angst over it like we do.
Exactly. And I mean, there's definitely there's a fine line of, there's a bunch of different, because there's some people who are like rude about it, but people who are just like, just firmly, just like, nah.
Well, we grew up in, both of us grew up in Utah, and
Yeah.
Utah, I will say people from Utah are some of the nicest in the world. People in Utah are nice. It is a huge part of the culture there.
Yeah.
Some of that comes from the predominant religion there. Some of it just comes from how you're raised and how your neighborhoods are, and just how you've grown. And
Yeah.
I actually found a little freedom when we moved to New York and lived in New York. You're
Yeah.
still there. You're still there. People in New York are passing 100 people every day. You don't have time to think about or care or feel
Yeah, I don't
what
need
all the
to.
people you're interacting with, because it's so busy and hectic. And I actually found some type of freedom in New York of not having to be nice all the time.
Oh, there was one time there was this older lady, and she had like a stroller with a kid, or I don't know how she was, but she looked a little frail, and she had a kid in a stroller, and I was just like, hey, babe. And I was in a rush, and I just grabbed the end of the stroller, made eye contact with her. We lifted it up to the top of the stairs, and I had my headphones in, and I was like, I not like angrily, but I was just like, all right, and just put the stroller down at the top of the stairs and just kept on walking. And I was like, that's the perfect kind of charity, or like being helpful for me, is I'm just like, I was being helpful. We don't need to be like, oh, thank you so much. Oh, you're okay. Well, let's
You
we
just
look
did
out
the
for each
kind,
other.
you did the kind deed and moved on.
We keep it moving. I don't need a thank you, and you don't need, like, if I just keep walking, you're like, oh, he didn't even say anything. Who cares? He helped.
Yeah.
Silent help is good.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then the servers. So like we'll be at a restaurant. This happens so often. And there's no perfect way, because sometimes you'll be at a restaurant and you're like, we haven't seen our server for 30 minutes, and you're frustrated. Or they come and constantly ask you if everything's okay, and
Yeah,
you're
you
right in
got
the middle of a
chatty
conversation,
Cathy.
and you're
Yeah.
like, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
So there's maybe a no win for that.
I mean, having worked in the service industry, like, some people you can kind of tell who wants it, but like, I'm sorry, but the person who's like, how you doing? And this is all, oh, what's going on? Oh, that's a good one. You're gonna really love that. I don't need your type 5. I don't need personality. I don't want, again, and I'm not trying to sound elitist. I have also been a server recently. I am a bartender now. We don't need a song and dance. Just like, what do you want? That's great. Done.
Efficiency.
Efficiency, which sounds terrible and it sounds mean. But I don't want to know about you unless we like strike up a conversation and it like happens naturally.
Getting it off. So maybe what you're really getting at is people could read social cues better of when you want the interaction and when you don't.
Speaking of which, I can't read social cues that well either, but sometimes I can definitely read when somebody doesn't want to talk to me.
Okay, so that's funny, because that brings me to, I mean, this is like a cranky happy, not sure which, because here was my podcast theory for today, because we had talked about our joy and our joyful foundation, is what gave you joy today, honey?
Oh, I had a wonderful morning and had just a nice cup of coffee with the girlfriend and the cat. And we just, chatted about what we're doing this weekend and just had a nice little morning. And then
could you really sit in that and feel that and be like, I'm just so happy right now?
Yeah, it's a great little start to your day. And I slept in a little bit, so it was like noonish when we kind of had our little coffee morning, but like I work late, so, and she does too, so that just kind of worked out. But yeah, just sitting and having a nice cup of coffee, relaxing,
and really like being present in that moment and feeling happy. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's beautiful.
What about you? What do you got?
I'm waiting on my joyful moment. I would probably say this conversation, because every time I get to talk to you, like I saw you last week when we went in, or earlier this week, I should say, when we got to do our presentation, and I just miss you. So I'm just happy anytime I get to see you or talk to you. I know that sounds cheesy and you're like, oh gosh, what a cheesy mom, but
you're a cheesy mom. It's fine. I own it.
Just seeing you makes me happy.
So in that vein, though, this isn't even a chaos day. It's just something I'm thinking of. We got to work on attention. So, for example, I'm talking about you.
I was going to say, when you say we've got to work on something, that usually means you're talking to me, that I need to work on something.
That's right. Okay. To be fair to all the podcast listeners, off camera, I get all this. So I use you guys as my shield. But haven't seen each other in like a month or a couple weeks, and we're all excited to see each other. And then we sit down to have dinner, and then you proceeded to talk to every single person that came and sat down next to you. And at one point I was even talking to you, and I was like, oh, we were talking about the couples show that you're watching, and we were talking about it, and I was like, why do people even sign up to be on this show? And as the words left my mouth, you literally went and started talking to somebody else.
Yep.
And I was just like, what?
Yeah. You're right. I was pulled in a lot of directions, but you're right, is I allowed myself to be, and that was very rude, and I should not have done that.
There's being pulled in other directions. I have enough ego management to know that like I'm not the center of the universe, but it would be like, I miss you so much. I'm so happy to see you. I just want to spend time with you. What's going on? What? Yeah. Oh, wow, really? Oh, 30-minute conversation.
Prioritizing your kids. Yeah, I think that is a real thing of like, and I think we do that a lot with loved ones, of like, we tend to treat the people around us as less expendable, or like, oh,
like I already
irritated if I stop and talk to somebody, because you have to love me.
I see them less, so you'll. I do that same thing. I've worked hard on it though.
All right, that criticism noted, and that will not happen again. Because what I could have done better is like, people come up and say hello to me and they want to visit for a minute. How do I gracefully get out of that? Or how do I gracefully say, you know what, I'm here with my son. We haven't seen each other for a while.
You keep everybody in the conversation, instead of it was a lot of just like, all right, we're just talking now. Not like, oh yeah, well, so he did the yeah. It was a lot of just like, oh. Another person. I forget that this is a podcast sometimes, and I just act things out.
Yeah, he's acting out that I would just ignore him.
But it's on
okay,
on YouTube.
No, criticism is accepted. Criticism accepted. And
funny anecdote mostly, but
Yeah. I get it. I get it, man. I get it.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? What was your other topic?
Let's find out. Okay, poop timer.
What?
So I was thinking about this. Have you reached
the stage that we're talking about poop on the podcast?
Why don't we talk about poop on the pod?
Okay.
So how long do you think you have when you know you got to go and when it's happening? Right?
Yeah. Okay. This is funny. So I think it changes as you get older. And you're lactose intolerant. I am gluten intolerant. And so I think since those allergies have become in our lives, I think that impacts the timer sometimes. I think you have a good 7 to 3 minutes, anywhere from 3 to 7 minutes, because I'll be like, you know what? I feel like in the next few minutes, there might be an occasion to take advantage of a bathroom break.
Yeah.
And usually, but when you're wrong, that can be devastating.
That's when it's an issue. Yeah.
Right.
I recently, my tummy's just been kind of in flux, new diet and whatever. And I've been having random, just like no timers. It's just like, we got to go. And it's frustrating because it will happen. I'll eat. And then it's like, there's no set time post meal, but it just turns the time into a minefield post meal of just like, at some point, it's just going to be like,
yeah,
we're going.
Where you're like, I've got to just linger here near a restroom for about 30 minutes, just in case.
Just to feel out.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
that's tough. I've definitely had the timer not work and gotten in trouble. Like, we've all had that, I think. But it's interesting because I think for women, as we, after you've had a baby, this is way too much information for the podcast, but after you've had a baby, the undercarriage gets taxed. And so sometimes you might pee or other things, and you don't mean to, because your undercarriage has been taxed. I don't know that we can talk about this.
The undercarriage gets taxed is just the perfect way to say that. Oh my God, the undercarriage gets taxed. Oh my God, that's great.
And when I say that, I mean by you, because you were a giant baby.
Hey, here's my argument.
I blame you.
I didn't do it on purpose. You did. Anytime you get a child gets blame, I'm just gonna bring it back to you chose.
Yeah, I did. I definitely wanted to have you, but so I've taken those consequences. But that timing, the timer can get skewed a little. The undercarriage is taxed, and the timer can get skewed.
Yeah.
I feel like we should move on to a non-related topic.
I think we should call it.
Call it.
I think we should end on that. End on a high note.
Why, is your timer going off?
No, I just think that we're at like
okay,
40
so
minutes,
we do have a big announcement. I'm giving the big announcement. Okay. We are going to have our first guests of the podcast.
Yes.
Hopefully next week. We'll keep you posted on social media. Be sure and follow Call Your Mom Pod on Instagram.
Yeah, follow, subscribe,
subscribe, all the things. We are going to have a very famous mother and daughter on our podcast next week. That's the teaser.
You'll find out who on the episode.
On the episode. Okay, so be sure to tune in again next week.
Yeah.
I hope you had a good time on the podcast. We had an epic week. I want to say thank you again to all of the incredible people at Yale University for helping facilitate our big surprise. Our first ever Alex Wilcox Memorial Scholarship is in the universe. Grace Westmoreland, congratulations. And I hope that we brought a little joy into your day today. And we love you. Goodbye.
Love you, Mom.
Love you, honey.